Yo, it's the kid. It is Pastor Ivan. Really just Ivan in this case, because today, well, for this episode, this part one of this wonderful podcast that I'm doing, this interview, whatever you want to call it, because everybody got their own form of fashion of what they call stuff. But a couple of my friends, really my family, because I really love all of these people. Um, and we're gonna talk about something that's we our side of a story that I feel like this never really heard. So this series is called Growing Up PK, and I got some of my PK family to do this with me, and we're just gonna kind of talk for a little bit, couple episodes, and hope you enjoy this. And let's go and get the guests in here. Let's go ahead and get my family, my friends in here. Let's see who we got. This is my wonderful panel, my wonderful family. Hey, we got a lot of time in between us in PK years. Um, so I'm gonna just go ahead, dive right in. I ain't gonna keep dragging it out. My first question: in your earliest memory of before knowing what a PK was, what did you want to become in life? What did you want to be? What did you remember you saying as a child you wanted to be? Do you remember?
I know I wanted to be a pop star. Like I wanted to be the next Beyonce.
I'm dead.
Okay, pop star. Okay, I wanted to go to the league, and then my height yeah. it didn't continue, it didn't continue to agree with me.
Young Nate Robinson.
Nah, bro. I was trying to be like Kobe, bro. I had to be like 6'2", 6'3". And then I got to middle school and I was still like 5'3" in seventh grade. And I was like, bro, this we cutting up. What about everybody else?
I always wanted to do music. I never really waned off of music. I mean, I guess I wanted to be a singer. Like Kayla said, like she wanted to be like a pop star. I guess like that was kind of my little fantasy. I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be the next Beyonce or something.
I'm embarrassed for mine because mine is actually the same thing. The only difference is Janae and Kayla are actually in music. I am nowhere near it. But when I was a little girl, and that's crazy that I'm saying it, I've never actually told anybody. Up until I was probably 14, I definitely wanted to be a pop star, definitely on Beyonce level. But that all in the past. That was just imaginary.
That's so crazy because go ahead, it's some people there.
I might be the nerd of the group. I want to be an archaeologist, like dig up dinosaur bones.
Oh my god!
Laugh at me if you want, but until 4 years ago, Kayla, I was set. I was going to be an engineer, be an archaeologist. Dude, I love math and science, so that's what I was.
If you would have told your dad you was going to be an archaeologist,
yep,
he would have got so hot. Like, what you mean?
Yes.
I was about to say, okay, Ross.
That was it.
Candy, what about you?
Up until me switching colleges, I was gonna be a dancer. Hopefully, hopefully, I would have made it in the professional dance world.
I didn't want to do that. I want to be a cosmetologist, but it didn't happen like that. I don't do nobody else, so.
So, I think me, Jocelyn, Kyra, Janae, you still in music. Kennedy, you said you wanted to be a dancer. Between us four, and David, we're really the only 5 that's nowhere close to what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So now, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but do you feel like you made the right decision?
Yes, 100%.
Oh yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Because if I touch somebody's head,
done for.
I feel like I'm the only one to say no then, because I feel like I should be in the league, bro.
Oh,
Here we go.
Nah, bro. I'm for real, bro. I feel like I should be in the league. I be watching games and I be like, if I was in the league,
big mad.
Big man.
But sometimes I don't even watch games. I'll just go to the gym because I'm hooping tonight. Feel me? I'm playing tonight. Don't see y'all judging me.
It's my game. It's my game. I got it.
I can't believe y'all are judging me like that so fast.
Your dream it.
Right?
Okay. Do you think being a PK made it growing up easier or more difficult as a child?
For me, it was difficult.
Difficult.
Yeah,
Hands down more difficult.
Explain.
I mean, I can take this if y'all are good. Hands down more difficult. Usually, like normal child, like if your parent works in normal, like kind of like 9 to 5, you ain't got no attention on you. Nobody's looking at you. I mean, you go to school, your teacher just makes sure you don't bust your head open. But like, a Sunday is like a production. Everybody's eyes on you. Pressure's always on you. You can't do this. You can't do that. It's definitely challenging, especially when you tell me as a 7-year-old, I can't come to church in gym shorts. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't understand it. Like, what do you mean I can't come to church in gym shorts like my friend Billy? Nah, you can't do that. So, like, it's challenging, especially when you're young. You don't understand it. So, yeah.
Definitely.
You're so articulate, David. It's so good to see you grow up, man.
I try my best.
I'm dead.
What about you, Jocelyn?
I was
go ahead.
Jocelyn. No, Jocelyn.
No, y'all go ahead. I'm just
So mine was more difficult, especially getting into my preteen and early teenage years, because just like David said, you always have all eyes on you. And especially when you are around that age, you're figuring out yourself, you're 12, 13, 14. So, you start, dealing with boys, you start dealing with friends. I mean, all those things you've already been dealing with, but it's kind of like on another level. And then you also have to deal, I love them to death, but you also got to deal with church folk. Just like what David said.
We're gonna talk about them too. I don't think we're not skipping no easy conversations.
So, it was really hard for me because I was always on the spotlight. I always kind of felt like I had to be whoever they wanted me to be. So that's why it was hard for me.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about that.
I got the same thing as my sister, but it was different for me, kind of, sort of, only because like Jacksonville is big, but it's small. So everybody know everybody. Everybody know who our father is. Everybody know who our people is. So it was kind of crazy growing up because my brother and I are really, really close. We're close in age. We're close in our relationship. So we always had the same crowd. So growing up, especially like Dustin said, like being 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, when you got the same crowd of friends, like a lot of times, y'all your curiosity, you try to feed into it more and more. So, we was always going out. We was always doing stuff. We was always hanging out. So it just kind of came easy that, that people were always looking at us like, oh, they doing this, oh, they doing that. But it's like, at the end of the day, like, my people on G, they know what we get into. As long as we're not getting into no trouble and not doing nothing too crazy and inappropriate, my parents on G, they know what's up. So
that's the other thing. We trying to figure ourselves out, but we also got to try to figure out what they want, or either when we don't care what they want, that's when it becomes something, something else. It becomes a whole another situation.
Literally.
Yeah. I think growing up, me and Kyra, our view of being a PK was different because Kyra knew, I guess, early on kind of that she was called to ministry. And for me, it took middle school, high school, some weeks into college to kind of realize the call of my life. So for me and her, that it was my struggle was way bigger with accepting being a PK in my teenage years than hers was. Well, I can't speak for her experience, but I definitely came with all of the terrible PK struggles. And she probably didn't experience a lot of them because she stepped into the calling in her life way before I did. So.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And also, Janae, am I saying your name right?
Yeah.
I can agree with her too because Mobile is not big. It's really kind of little, and it's hard.
Yo,
when you look
I be totally forgetting y'all be in Mobile. Like,
it's hard when you look like your dad. Like when you look like him, And then you try to go to the mall and they be like, "Oh, you Vincent dog." And it's like, I am. Now I can't do what I do. Like it was hard. And going back to what Kennedy said, like it was easy because I knew I wanted to do ministry, but it was also hard because I didn't have friends who wanted to do ministry. Like my best friend right now is nowhere near ministry. Like we live two totally different lifestyles. And so being young and knowing that I want to do something different than what she wanted to do and know that we were going to go our separate paths, it was hard because she wanted to do everything that I knew I couldn't really do. And I was like, if I do it, I don't know who's gonna be around, who's gonna be like, oh, that's Vincent's daughter, that's Mashonda's daughter. So I was just like, it was hard. And like you said, like being young, your curiosity is out of the window because everything is new. Right. So I do agree with that.
Kayla?
I can just agree with everything that everybody has said so far. I mean, from the curiosity to the friends to even just accepting your calling, and even at a young age, having to explain that to people, like they don't really understand. Like you're in middle school, you're a freshman in high school, and you want to do church, you want to go into ministry. Like just having to explain that to people is like something that's just totally different. And like Kira said, like going to parties or hanging out with friends and just knowing like you can't do this, like you have this calling on your life, and it's just like, I don't know, it's difficult. And I'm still going through it kind of, even though I've accepted my calling and I'm about to graduate.
And I'm more on the side with Kennedy. I was not having this joint. Like, man, y'all keep that mug. Like, and it's and really like it's so hard to not talk about the teenagers, but even as you grow up as a kid and you just see certain stuff, like you just be like, I don't want to deal with that. You go on the vacations and it's like, okay, we can't do nothing but church, but it's like until you get that understanding, like we only can live like this because
This is what it is.
this is what it is. You like, I like,
Like it's so new. Like what?
I whatever.
Kind of
Like,
compels us to kind of want to kind of wane off and do some of the stuff that we do because we know what we're supposed to do, but we kind of feel like, let me see what else I can do now.
Right.
For me, y'all know me. Y'all know Apostle. He had a bubble, so he wasn't letting too much in that bubble. And for us growing up, it was really they did spectacular, like making sure we didn't see certain things, but when we seen it, they wouldn't necessarily like not explain it, but it was like, just come with it. Like, and watching them kind of deal with situations. I mean, I remember as a kid, being in the church and hearing different kids be like, "But your grandparents stealing from us," and I'm like, "Wait, excuse me? Wait, what is that? Wait, what are you talking about? What are you talking about right now?" And even with like growing friendships, like Kyra said, like most of my friends are like, "Yeah, bro, we get it. Like, we believe in it, but we ain't coming up there right now, bro. Like, I love you, bro, but hit me with your little message, bro. Send me the link. I got you, cuz." I mean, like, dang. But
It was a little different for us at Bethel because everyone, like I said, Jacksonville is big, but it's small. So almost everybody and their mama and they
it's been terrible. It's terrible growing up in Houston. Like, when I tell you it's the worst.
And you're a
Like,
Hilliard.
I bruh. And people be saying that, and then when I think about it, I be like, bruh, it's just a name until I walk outside.
Okay.
Bro, I'm in the mall.
Oh,
I'm in the mall. We kids. We got nannies. Bro, why people running after us? I'm like, who are we? Like, my grandfather on the news because he's buying a jet. Like, that's real news. I got news outlets. Me, Bree, Emmanuel, we got news outlets outside our schools. I'm like, this don't make sense. And so for me as a kid, I was super observant. Like I paid attention to everything. Not wanting to do this was like, I'm like, Ken, like, it took me till college to be like, let me stop playing. And so that kind of leads me to my next question. How did you find out you were a PK
Oh wait,
and what it was?
wait. I have the funniest story for this.
Oh Lord.
So we had just started our church. I think the building was like the DeForest Center, right? So we're going to church. Of course, my dad like served in Newburgh before, so I'm like, I'm used to going to church. Granddad, great granddad. So my dad is preaching, and I'm sitting next to my mom, and he started. I think he was giving like benediction, whatever, the end, whatever it is, and he's talking, and I looked at my mom and go, or church ends, and my dad's talking to people, da da da. And I think somebody, I don't know how this started, but somebody walked up to my dad and I guess called him pastor. And I'm like, man, I don't even know how old our church is, but I'm probably like 5, maybe 6. And I look and I go, wait, you the pastor? And point to my dad.
Oh,
And
it's
goes,
you.
you the pastor? And my mom and dad just started cracking up like,
I'm
once I'm the pastor.
screaming.
It just did not register in my head. Like, wait, we're the pastor of a church. Because of course, when you come from like your dad leading worship, doing all this stuff, I'm like, oh, he's not the top man. You know, there's somebody else. So I was like, wait, you're the pastor? And my parents, like, they laugh about it now because like, I don't know if like we should have been concerned that you were like, you're the pastor or what. But that's what I found out. And I guess I was just like, whoa. So yeah.
I'm dead.
What about y'all?
That's funny.
I'm trying to think. My parents, my dad was over at youth ministry at our former church. And so I didn't feel like, I was the pastor's kid. I was like, oh, my dad is Pastor Green. And then when he started his church, we were still young. And so it took a while for it to click. I think not when I got older, it was like, oh, I'm the pastor's kid. Well, of course, when I was young, I got it. But then when I was older, I was like, oh, like this is really a thing. Because my daddy started his church at a gym. We would run around, play with the kids, set up the chairs, do what you do when you first started church. But then, like, as we got a building and as everything, I was like, oh, we in this for life. Ain't going nowhere.
I think the same thing. You said Kira. Is it Kira?
Kyra.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think it's the same thing Kyra said. We were so young. I never really thought about it. Of course, when you get older, it will register, same as she said. But I don't think I ever went through a time where I was trying to figure it out, like what they did, because my father has been pastoring since before I was born. So I've always seen him, I guess, as top dog. I've always seen him, as front and center. So I don't think I ever thought about it. Janae, did you?
No, because think about it, Daddy and Papa were pastoring together.
Yes.
And so when my sister and I were growing up, my granddad was really in the seat of Bethel, and my dad was co-pastoring with him. Mm-hmm. So growing up, all we knew was Papa and Daddy are the pastors. Like that's all we knew. And also, my mom's dad was the pastor. So it really was.
He was always there, I guess.
Literally, it was always there. So, and we never met our grandfather. We never met our mom's dad, but we've heard so many stories about him. So it just was always like, okay, we're pastor's kids, we're pastor's grandkids. All right.
Nah, I knew. I came out like, nah, my grandfather, the pastor. I tell my grandfather on you. I knew. If you didn't know, I'll let you know. Like I knew. Yeah, that was real big for me, especially because everything we did was church. So
literally,
even going to play in sports, like, oh, who your parents? Oh, that's your parents? Oh, you a preacher's kid. Oh, we got the pastor's grandson on the team. And I'm like, bro, I thought I was gonna be regular.
Right.
Right.
I thought I was just gonna be Ivan this season.
I started playing sports at Bethel, at my church.
See. And when did you feel like as a kid, like, yo, we always here?
I honestly don't even remember. Like,
I think we all just kind of hit like.
No, Kayla was the worst though. Kayla was the worst. Like, we're always here. When can we
don't. The other thing is you can't do what other people can do. Like everybody, I will never forget. So back in the day, we used to have communion service every first Sunday at 6:00. So after church, everybody going over to their friend's house. Right. They doing whatever. Or Saturday night, they're like, can't nobody come over. Oh, Sunday, well, no, we got communion service tonight, so you got to be here. It's like, man, we got revival.
My mom was not having sleepovers. My mama was not letting me stay at other people's houses. Like,
yeah, that's how my parents were.
I went through a whole phase. Like, my mama found out my cousins watched Dragon Ball Z, and she told my aunt, like, they're watching that demon stuff. I was like, hey, you can't even enjoy that cartoon. I got friends at school. I'm starting to see what Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. That's the devil. I'm like, bruh, like I don't even know what it is.
We were always at church.
None of that.
We were always at church. Like Jocelyn said, we had on first Sundays. We had 3 services because we always had 2 services, and then we would have to go back to service for communion on first Sundays. Mondays sometimes was maybe the only chill day. Tuesdays was married couples, so we had to go to the church. Wednesday was Bible study. Thursday was children choir rehearsal or youth choir rehearsal. And then Friday came.
Remember, Mommy used to be in the choir. So Friday we were up at the church at choir rehearsal most of the time.
Oh yeah. And sometimes Thursdays after choir rehearsal, we would have to pray.
Yes.
He was also on the praise team. So we were at the church every week.
My grandfather had the school at the church. So I went to school at the church until he didn't have the grade levels no more. Like, my teachers worked for my grandfather. So even if I get in trouble, like, they not saying nothing to them because they afraid they're going to lose their job type stuff. So, like, everything is so, like, right here. Like, I didn't start getting out until my 4th grade year. Like, I ended up, like, my mom was like, all right, like, you don't need to be homeschooled no more. Like, he stopped doing his school. They started homeschooling me. I was like, bruh. Like,
I didn't know you were homeschooled.
Yeah, me either.
Bruh, I had no friends until 4th grade. Like, that's why y'all be trying to figure out, like, why I'm so comfortable with solitude. Like, I didn't have nobody until I was like 8. Bruh, I had nobody till I was 8. Then me and Bree at one point was getting homeschooled together. And she transferred to a Christian school, and then I went to this same Christian school. So it's just like, for me, they had totally entrenched me in church. It was like, this it. Like, my mama is working for my grandfather. She is the COO. So anything he need done, she do. If she not finished with work, like, we here at the office until she finished. I remember sleeping on that couch in her office, like, waking up like, dang, bro, like, I didn't eat. Can I get McDonald's or something, cuz?
Or waking up because she got a counseling session or she got to meet with a couple.
Or walking over to the children's church taking some animal crackers.
No.
Hey, look, let me tell you something. If you didn't know where the snacks are in your church, you're not a real PK.
You're starving.
You're not a real PK, and you're starving every Sunday.
Right?
Every time you come to church, you're starving.
Hey, listen, Jocelyn
always in the children's ministry. They got all the snacks.
All of them. And we know where which cabinet
the juice boxes.
Everything is at. Mm-hmm.
The juice boxes.
Best thing in the world.
Hey,
you go to the refrigerator, you got the fruit juices, you got the apple juice, you know where everything.
Look, and who gonna tell you can't have it?
They can. Hey, don't let it be a long week because the kids ain't gonna have snacks if it's a long week.
Right. Not only that, sometimes they be leading you to the snack. Like, you want some snacks? Come on, I'll show you. Right.
You hear me? You can't eat in the sanctuary. Excuse me?
Excuse me?
Excuse me? I'm gonna go sit there and that seat right there. I'm gonna go take my Teddy Grahams right there. Thank you.
Not the Teddy Grahams.
Hey, we used to have the cinnamon Teddy Grahams with the Mott's apple juice box. Bruh, bruh. When I tell you Pastor Bobby really used to come with it, bruh, then like on special occasions, like she would give us the iced animal cookies,
Oh,
bruh. Just the vanilla ones. So she
Tasty.
already knew, bruh. She already knew the ones was nasty. She just got straight, bruh. Pastor Bobby really turned me into a snack fiend. It was her fault. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's been her since day one.
Yeah, because you got all the snacks in your office.
Bruh.
All of them.
I got snacks right here in my room. You're crazy. In the studio, right here. I got a whole bag full of snacks. Y'all know me. Y'all know when y'all come here, what you got? What you got? What you need? What do you got tasting? Real question. What would you like? What expectations do you feel like were put on you as a kid? We kind of started hinting at this when we opened up. What expectations do you feel like were put on you as a kid that you were like, bro, I am a kid.
To get A on the roll.
At all.
Basically.
Quickly realized.
Right.
Being an angel, like never messing up or always feeling like I had to like just always do the right thing. I was never going to mess up. I was never going to have a challenge I was going, possibly fail at. Like we were always expected to just be.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I think
Everybody told me I was bad.
Me
We know
too.
you were bad. We know you were
I
bad.
know I was bad.
I knew I
Go ahead,
was.
Kenny. Go ahead,
I
Kenny.
think for my parents, they did a really good job of like not making those expectations known. In a sense, it was like, I mean, getting A's, of course, that was known, that was like a given. But any other expectations to act a certain way or be a certain way, act a certain way at church or around people, that wasn't like as a parent. But I do think the one expectation that we like knew was known was to not make the same mistakes they made because they told us about the mistakes they made. So that's the one thing you probably shouldn't do is make the exact same mistakes we made when we told you what would happen if you did. So that was probably like a big expectation, I think, in my opinion.
I think that one of the things that I noticed really early on was everybody kept telling me like, "You gonna be a preacher. You gonna be you. It's in the lineage. It's your mama, then it's you." And I'm be like, "Hey, bro, I'm trying to go to the league.
Oh my
You know a
gosh.
trainer? You know a trainer? I'm trying to hoop. What you talking about, bro?" I actually, it's just crazy because I remember this story so vividly. I was talking to this guy. I had to be like 4 or 5. He was saying, like you're gonna be the next one after your mom, and I'm like, my mama just work here. Like, what are you talking about right now? My grandfather, the pastor. Why you trying to say he gonna die? Like, I went into this whole thing like, so you trying to tell me my grandfather gonna die? Not realizing he was telling me just about ministry. And then as I got older and I started hearing people like really push that button, like, you shouldn't be doing that because like later on, like when you get in ministry, people gonna think about this. And I'd be like, but I'm 10.
Right.
Right.
Okay, I bit him. Okay, I'm 10.
Wait, why are you biting at 10?
That's
Hey, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. When you get in fights and you in a private school, a Christian private school that's owned by your grandfather, you can't beat people up.
Oh my God.
That's the only L I ever take in my life. Feel me? He got the upper hand, and I had to bite my way to get out. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
He is sick.
Okay, I'm gonna let that one ride. You feel me? All right, this is the last question for this first part. Do you feel like as you got older and understood what a PK was, did you see it start affecting your relationships at 10, 11, 12, and 13? And even some of your friendships? Because, at that age, you starting to, you know, I'm starting to, I like girls now. I'm like, yo, what's up?
Oh
I got a
my.
cell phone. I got a cell phone. Do you have a cell phone? No, but I mean, I got one though. So like, what's up? Did you see your friendship start changing? Because now at this age, everybody can start putting pieces of the puzzle together. People got their own lives at home. So now people start making comments like, yeah, I'm trying to figure out why we always give it to the church and we ain't got nothing to eat. So tell me how that started affecting you all's relationships going into to that next phase of teenage.
It actually made me very insecure. I hate that whole "oh yeah, your daddy got money from the church" thing.
Oh my.
You know, it gets to me, especially when my father is doing God's work. He's doing what he was called to do. So don't offend him. Don't offend his name by saying, "Oh, yeah, well, he a preacher, so I already know y'all got money because from the church." My father has money because aside from preaching, he has his CDs, he has his books.
Right.
Our fathers are also businessmen, fathers and mothers. So that's one thing that always
We're gonna talk about that too.
Yes, because I'm like, what are you talking about? It made me very insecure though, because the whole church thing, like you just brought up with the money, that will always come up. So yeah, that affected me a lot. Especially because I was becoming more aware, like you said, Ivan. I was becoming a lot more aware. Although it got on my nerves when I was younger, how much we had to be in church, the talks that my parents would have, but I started to understand. So it definitely affected my relationships because I started to close myself to a lot of people. I would not, and still don't. I don't let a lot of people in for that reason.
Yeah, I can piggyback off of that definitely.
Yeah.
It definitely affects your relationships because you get to a certain age where you're in the children's ministry, you're doing stuff, and people are like, "Oh, she's the pastor's kid," da 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 da, and you quickly realize that people are gonna use that. They're gonna try to be your friend because they want access. They want access to you, your parents, your business. So it like you said, it makes you close yourself off in a way, and like I'm not about to have all these friends in the church because who knows like what they're after, and it may be a good or a bad thing, but it just, yeah.
Kind of to follow Kayla. I mean, we're siblings, but of course our dad was a pastor. But before he was a pastor, he was like big in like the gospel music industry. So I think like that was always like
You said it like we don't know that. You don't know who your daddy is. He was like kind of big in that gospel
oh
music.
my god,
You guys know what I'm talking about? Oh yeah, okay.
but I remember being a kid like before, like because our church grew with like Kayla and I. So like those first few years, like yeah, we had people there, but it's not like that was financially, carrying our family. I mean, it still really isn't. So like dad being in gospel, I remember going to the movies and people walking up to him and be like, "Are you William Murphy?" And then him being like,
Who's that?
"Yeah," or or depending on the mood, he'll be like, "Who's William Murphy?" And I'll be like, "Wait, what?" So I'll just be like, yeah. And literally, like, I remember we were at a movie theater one time. Somebody goes, "You look like William Murphy." He goes, "Who's that?" And somebody went on their phone, Googled William Murphy, pulled up a picture, and held it next to his head, and goes, "You don't know who this person is?" And he goes, "No." And they're like, "Oh my goodness, like, how can you not?" And me being like, "Bruh, can you just leave us alone?"
Right,
And kind of like what Kayla said, relationships became so superficial. Oh, I want to be your friend because your daddy got money. Ooh, I want to be your friend because your daddy done this. Ooh, I want to be your friend because your daddy pastors this and he goes here, goes that place. And with girls, especially being a male and boys, like
oh yeah,
they just want to be your friend because who you are. And like me, like great grandfather's a pastor, grandfather's a pastor, dad's a pastor. They're like, "Dave, you're next," They're like, they call me co-pastor, and I'm like, dude, like, chill on me. Like, I'm just trying to like write music or go dig up some bones, like chill. And, literally, like
Bones.
I remember people just being like, "Oh my god, this, and that," and like I remember this was probably a few years ago. I was probably like 14 or 15. This mom came up to me, and her daughter like was trying to talk to me, all this stuff, And this mom literally looks at me. She's like, "Yeah, why don't you say hi to her?" And I'm like, "Hey, this is Dreamfest, so like our Halloween thing." I'm like, "Hey, you know." She's like, "Yeah, why don't you give her a hug?" I'm like, "Sure." So I give her a little side hug, and she goes, "Ooh, my daughter's gonna be a Murphy." And I remember thinking in my head, like, "What?"
No,
And
no,
I,
no.
and I remember so many things right through my head, and I can't remember who was with me because you always got like a bodyguard or nanny or whatever,
Always.
and they just grabbed my arm and were like, "Let's go." And then they went over and told my mom, and then my mom, she's from New Orleans, so she went in there. Who is this? Where's she at? Like, blah, blah. But I just remember like of course I kind of knew before, but I was like, man, people might not even really like me for me. They might just want to be a part of this name, if we're gonna be honest, try to have a baby by me, something like that. So stuff like this, I always remember that, like, dang, is this really about me or is this about my parents' name? Is this about my dad's name? Is this about the money we got? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it affects your relationships like so much. And sorry, I'm going on a tangent. I remember my dad, he ended up putting us in a private school, majority white private school, because we went to a public school before this, and he told them, like when you ask him one of the main reasons, he was like, "I don't want my kids to be the biggest fish in this little pond, because everybody knowing them, everybody's saying your daddy's this, your daddy's that, your house is this big, all this stuff." And when we went to this private Christian school, it like knocked us to the bottom of the totem pole. I'm like, "Hey, we're meeting NFL players, NBA players, lawyers, all this stuff." So I remember just like my relationships getting affected, but then like when them transitioning me to a school, at this point, everybody's parents got money. Everybody's parents do something
Right.
important. So they're just like, and white school, they're like, William Murphy Hill. So like, just at that point, it was crazy. But yeah.
That's funny.
You are dumb. The way you described your daddy telling people no is so accurate. It's ridiculous. What about y'all? I saw a couple people answering for. I want to
I
answer.
think I can go off of what Kayla said. Like when people wanted to be your friends, I for a long time didn't recognize that, and so I would get close to people, and then my parents would be like, you need to shut that down. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm just trying to be friends because it's already you're a PK. You go somewhere and everybody know who your parents are. So it was like, can I at least just have some friends? Like, can I at least? And then you get in a relationship and it's like you need to get out of that. That's not a good friendship for you to have. And so it was like this war of like, okay, I don't understand why I can't be friends with this girl, like why we can't go, like why we can't, me and my friends, why we can't go chill. And it's like, no. And now I see it. Now when I got older, of course they told me, but in that moment it was just so aggravating of like, I don't want to be looked at all the time as this PK. I just want to be a child. I just want to
I'm
go
glad you said
and do what everybody else is doing. I want to go sometimes and just chill with my friends. Like I want to have like my one of my best friends. She has this relationship with her mom that at a young age I didn't have with my parents, and more of like how her mom just said any and everything to her, and I was like, oh, your mama do that, and my parents didn't do that, and I understood why because there was I'm a child, they're an adult,
Yeah.
and so in my mind I was like, oh, my friend doing that, let's have that. And I was like, no, that's not what we're doing. So going back to what Kayla said, like that was the biggest thing, and of course the money thing. Everybody feel like when you're a pastor, you just the money just fall down from everywhere, and it's like, oh, we
they
not.
be thinking that mud
You
just
still gotta work. You still gotta work.
Right.
Piggybacking Kyra, I think for me personally, because first off, I was a chatterbox in the church, so I probably didn't need friends because I was going to tell you all the little church business, and somehow I was. I probably didn't need friends back when I was younger, but because we couldn't find friends in our church, plus a lot of our friends in our church were our family because we built our church with our family around us. So the kids that we grew up being our friends are our cousins. But even when I kind of got to middle school and high school, and I wanted to find my own friends, because you can't really trust many church people, it pushes you to find friends in school environments or just on the outside, which most of the time are really your secular friends that want to get you in everything, and now you're testing the waters and you got the big toe and stuff you didn't supposed to be in. And I think for me, that's when it was just like, I didn't realize that until now. And I even talked to Kyra about it now, just about going back home. How do you establish those relationships or boundaries when you have friends that are completely on the opposite in the faith as you, who believe in God but aren't living a lifestyle like that. So just finding that balance and those boundaries between like all my friends being secular and me being like living a Christian lifestyle and being in ministry. That sounds so serious.
I think it was different for me a little bit. I mean, it was the same, but it was a little different only because most of my friend group, and even still down to this day, most of my friends are from Bethel. Like most of my brother and I's friend group is from Bethel. Like I said, my brother and I are really close. So like most of us, we all grew up together. Most of our parents grew up in Bethel together. Most of our grandparents grew up in Old Bethel together. So it's like Bethel is very generational. So most of my friend groups in Bethel, like we all went to different schools in the city. So we all knew like different people, whether you was friends with the drug boy, whether you was friends with a up and coming stripper, whatever. Like we was cool with everybody. So I mean,
Right.
no, but seriously though, like seriously, like, and it's like. I mean, we got challenged, and of course, people looked at us and chastised us who didn't really know us like that. But because we had so many like friends in Bethel that were just all around the city, went to different schools in the city, knew different people in the city, like I had enough people that would be there to defend me if I couldn't. Not that I couldn't defend myself, I just had a certain way of defending myself that I could not show all the time. That I often showed all the time, but I tried to refrain from it. Jocelyn know what I'm talking about. But I really like sometimes I just had to kind of sit back and like my friends who was in Bethel, they know who I am. Like even though I'm a PK, like my friends know how sincere my heart is. They know how I am. Like my people know who I am. So I kind of had enough people to defend me at the end. Like, bro, like that ain't her. Like that's not Josh. That's not Jocelyn. So I would be cool with it. But the folk that would come and chastise, I had some, to get right with it with. But
I think for me, my relationships, like I have very solid relationships that I've kept since my childhood, but I have relationships like with people that I've known since I've grown up. Like, and if I see them, it's so much tension, it's ridiculous. Um, for me, it was really hard because Houston is so big, but it's so small, and you can have somebody in this pocket that really like my people, and then you got this pocket of people that don't really like my people, and they connected to each other in some form or fashion in different ways. And by the time you get in the middle and you start hearing some of this stuff, you just be like, "But I thought you was my homie. Like, I didn't know you was a part of that."
Right.
And
literally.
I think for me growing up, it made it really hard to understand people. Like really hard to evaluate. Like my evaluation system, it almost seemed like when I meet someone, or I start talking to someone, it's almost like I gotta gauge like really what you here for. And it seemed like bro, we just met, but it's like, but bro, like you don't understand. Like I don't have time for all this extra stuff because we didn't deal with this too many times. I've been dealing with this since I was a kid. So what are you looking for? Like tell me what's up. And as a kid, you don't know that to say that, but to watch certain things play out is just like it shouldn't be like this. Like I had a friend that, you know, I grew up with him for a long time and then recently, we connected and he was just like, growing up, it just seemed like because we were at the church, everything that you had was better than mine. So we couldn't have been friends. Like I didn't know how to deal with that. And I was just like, yeah, I
That's
get it, but bro, we was kids. Like I really understood him, but I was like, yo, we was kids. Like I didn't even know what was going on. Like you barely knew. So for you to go that far and not even say nothing to me, and we supposed to be so cool, like you could text me happy birthday, but you really still got an ill intention behind it. Like you really still mad. Like, and so I think when we start talking about this teenage years and these teenage life in the next episode, it's gonna get real gritty. I think we're gonna have to grind out some real questions.
teenage years. Oh
This one
my
was
God.
fun, little
That's just
lighthearted.
not so fun.
This one was fun. Just bring back memories. But I think that teenage and then the third one is about the future, like right now in the future. And I know them next two, they're gonna be They might get a little emotional, they might get a little tense, but I
Mhm.
know, I know in them conversations, it's gonna be a lot that, you know, we feel like we need to get off our chest.
Mhm.
Because a
Right.
lot of those stigmas and a lot of that stuff really don't build up until you get to high school and middle school and college and you like, I didn't I gotta deal with some of this stuff. Like
Mhm.
that really put a stronghold on me.
Yeah.
I now, because of church members, I don't trust people unless they come like with a certain angle. So it's like,
Very true.
nah, bro, you you already portraying and doing too much. You're not it. Like, and
Right.
so I'm really excited to get into that next conversation and do the part two of our teenage years. But this was a really great conversation. Hey, this is Spotlight Growing Up PK Part 1. We out this